The universality places typically allow for smaller nations and those with developing swimming programs to send athletes to the Olympics. The main Olympic qualifying criteria set up are A and B time standards for athletes to qualify. But if a nation has no athletes selected that way, it can still be represented in swimming at the Olympics through the universality system. In the lead up to the selection of Fowler, there was a debate over whether he or Leon Seaton Jr. should get the nod to make the games, but Scott indicated that the delay in naming the selectee was because of following due process.
Athletes being selected for the Olympics usually are athletes who would have participated in the World Championships. They would have accumulated sufficient FINA points and would have demonstrated their current physical stature to perform. Currently, we have two male athletes at that, in that category, which is both Andrew Fowler and Leon Seaton. Leon Seaton, who was on the scholarship, have continued to show improvements in his times. Andrew Fowler, on the flip side, would have been back in Guyana and struggling with the pandemic and fighting to improve his performances. He would have been injured, and so there were some challenges. Fortunately for Andrew, based on his times, he would have accumulated the most FINA points. It didn't make an automatic selection because the process was complicated by FINA saying the athlete who we felt at the time is the most active and the fittest to be at the Olympics. It requires some discussion and deliberation. We came to the conclusion via vote at the council level that based on the FINA point system, which was the initial request by FINA, we would maintain that position of having Mr. Fowler be the selection for the Olympics. So the issue is not a controversial one. I think what was misconstrued is the fact that we have to go through a process that is guided by the Constitution. And in doing so, it might appear as though we're delaying stuff, but as the president, I cannot unilaterally make a decision. I have to be guided by the technical committee and the council, and we went ahead through that process. It may have taken longer than we wanted to, but we come to the right decision.
The 25-year-old Fowler competed in Florida just last month, where he clocked a personal best of 26.44 in the 50-meter butterfly and represented Guyana at the FINA World Championships held in South Korea in 2019. The 24-year-old Sanmoogan, along with Hannibal Gaskin, represented Guyana at the Rio 2016 Olympics. Additionally, later this month, Fowler, along with Alika Prasad and Leon Seaton Jr., will attend preparation for the Games. The two younger athletes are attending mainly for developmental purposes.
Jamila is going to continue to work at home. Andrew is slated to be at a Guyana meet in Puerto Rico for the 20th of this month. Andrew Fowler, Alika Prasad, and young Leon Seaton will be at that meet. Obviously, it have no bearing on the participation at the Olympics, but for Alika, it's just to gauge where she is based on the training that she would have been conducting. For Mr. Seaton, of course, it's to measure himself against athletes who are going to be going up for the Olympic qualification. And Mr. Fowler, of course, is again to gauge himself against the competition he come up against at the Olympics.
Fowler will swim the 100-meter free, while Sanmoogan will compete in the 50-meter free at the Olympics. For the newsroom, Akim Green.